Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we'll be talking about the second criterion of the divine message. So let's get started. Well, in the second criterion, we said that that's also based on the characteristics of Allah. And we said that the main characteristic of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He is unlimited, and that means that He's all perfect, and therefore He's flawless, which means that His message must also be perfect and flawless. So we're going to take the three books and we're going to see if they're flawless, if they don't have any contradictions in them, or if they do. So let's start with the Torah. Now remember, we said that the Torah today is considered to be the Old Testament. So when we open up the Old Testament and we look at the book of Genesis, the very first book, in chapter 7, verse 1, it says clearly, and this is God speaking, saying that He found Noah to be the most righteous of his generation, which means that he was a prophet to his people. If we move forward to chapter 9 of Genesis, verses 20 and 21, this is after the Ark of Noah actually anchored on land. It says that he became a husbandman and he planted a vineyard. A vineyard. Interesting. Why would he plant a vineyard? Planting a vineyard means that he's going to be producing wine. And that's what the next verse says. It says that he drank the wine and he was found drunk and uncovered in his tent. Now, him being uncovered in his tent, he's in the privacy of his home. Okay, we can understand that. But him being drunk, that contradicts his righteousness, doesn't it? Nobody looks at drunkenness as being a positive or as being something that is a righteous act. So some might say, well, who's to say that being drunk at that time was considered to be bad? So let's take a look at Proverbs. Also in the Old Testament, we find that in chapter 20, verse 1, it says, "And wine is a mocker. Whomsoever is deceived is unwise." So that means then that wine made a mockery of the most righteous man of his generation, and that he was deceived by it, and that he is unwise. So how can he be righteous and be unwise and deceived by a drink such as wine that made a mockery of him? That doesn't make any sense. There's a clear contradiction there. We also find that in Proverbs 23, that's chapter 23, verse 20, it says that do not be amongst wine-bibbers, riotous eaters of flesh, which means that it's prohibiting humanity from specifically being amongst wine-bibbers, those who are known to drink wine, or those that drink wine until they're drunk. And they need a bib because they're drinking so much that it's falling on their clothes. So that means then that it is prohibited in actual fact to drink wine. So that contradicts then the fact that he drank the wine and was drunk. It also says in Proverbs 23:32 that, speaking about wine, that it biteth like a serpent and it stingeth like an adder, which means that it's venomous, it's poisonous, it's dangerous. So how can a righteous man such as Noah partake in drinking wine? This is a clear contradiction. And therefore, we can't take the Torah then to be the book of the Creator Himself. So now if we look at the next divine book, the Holy Bible, and we'll look specifically at the New Testament, we'll find that it does contradict the Old Testament. So it contradicts specifically chapter 9 of Genesis, verse 21. In that it says in Luke 1:15, meaning Luke chapter 1, verse 15, speaking about Prophet Yahya, it says, "And he was great in the sight of his Lord, and he neither drank wine nor strong drink," which means that a prophet is not meant to drink wine nor strong drink, let alone be drunk. Therefore, again, there's a contradiction here in the New Testament with the Old Testament. And since it is the entire Bible that is considered the Old Testament plus the New Testament, there is a clear contradiction. So far, the Torah and the Bible have not been able to pass the second criterion. Let's look at the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran has no contradictions in it whatsoever. And even those that have claimed that they found a contradiction, in actual fact, those claims were rebuked, and in actual fact, they discovered that those claims were taken out of context. The Quran doesn't have any contradictions in it whatsoever. And therefore, what we find is that the Holy Quran has met the first criterion and the second criterion, while the other books have not. In the next video clip, we'll cover the third criterion. And we said that the Holy Book, the book of divine revelation that came from the unlimited Creator, has to have fixed false claims that were made by people of past religions. So until then, I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.